Okay, so hello everyone. My name is T and I'm from the Vietnam Talent Acquisition team. And welcome to the Axon Virtual Tech Talk today. We are very glad to have all of you joining us. And my partner here today is Chloe, also a team member in the TA team. Let's say hello to Chloe.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chloe. Nice to meet you all here today.
Yeah, and now let's join us to welcome the speakers. And especially in today's sharing, we will welcome a very special guest dialed from the US today, Mr. Brian, the VP of Axon Records team. And secondly, please welcome Mr. Dũng Hoàng. He is the engineering manager of the RMS team in Vietnam. And the third one, Mr. JK. He is our director of product and program management. And last but not least, we have Mr. Andrew Hansen, the senior software engineer from the US RMS team. And please drop a heart or a thumbs up react in the Zoom to welcome all of our speakers. And the next part, I would love to let Brian to open the Tech Talk today. Are you ready, Brian?
Yes, I am. Thanks for that. Sorry, I was on mute there. It's like we've been using Zoom for 2 years now, and sometimes I still forget how to use mute and whatnot. So thank you. And what T and Chloe asked me to do this morning, since they started off by speaking English from Vietnam, I'm going to try doing Vietnamese from the United States. So, chào buổi sáng ở Việt Nam và buổi tối ở Seattle. Tên tôi là Brian Wheeler và tôi rất hân hạnh được nói chuyện với tất cả các bạn hôm nay. Tôi biết rằng nhiều người trong số các bạn có thể vừa mới ngủ dậy. Vì vậy, chúng tôi rất vui khi có các bạn tham gia buổi nói chuyện này. Tôi là một trong những nhà lãnh đạo tại Axon. Tôi đã làm việc tại công ty được 5 năm. Trước khi làm việc tại Axon, tôi đã làm việc tại các công ty như Microsoft và Amazon. Bây giờ, tôi đã làm việc ở Axon lâu hơn bất cứ công ty nào khác. Lý do quan trọng nhất là tôi thích làm việc tại Axon là vì chúng tôi đang cố gắng bảo vệ sự sống của người ta. Lý do thứ hai tôi làm việc ở Axon là tôi có những người đồng nghiệp thật sự thông minh và tài năng. Một lý do bí mật khiến tôi quyết định làm việc tại Axon là vì chúng tôi đang thành lập văn phòng tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Và tôi muốn có lý do để đến thăm Việt Nam một cách thường xuyên hơn. Rất tiếc, COVID có nghĩa là chúng tôi không thể đi hành trình ngày bây giờ. Nhưng tôi mong đợi khi nào tôi có thể đến thăm Việt Nam một lần nữa. Sáng nay, tôi ở đây với các đồng nghiệp của tôi, Andrew, Raven, JK và Chloe. Tôi thật sự hy vọng các bạn thích buổi nói chuyện này. So with that, I think next up we have Chloe, who is going to introduce some of our products in our company.
Thank you, T and Brian, for your very cool introduction.
Recording in progress.
The next part, I would love to share with you guys a little bit about the overall of Axon products and how our products work. So the first team that we are having here is the hardware team. Hardware team is the team building our products such as smart weapons. So you guys can see here our smart weapon, which is taser gun, an electric gun. And the next one is some series of cameras. So you guys can see here the body-worn camera that officers usually use to stick in front of their chest. And the next team we are having is the Axon Evidence. So Axon Evidence will make it more simple to connect and manage data such as photos, audio, video, and documents in a single and secure system. It will help officers to dive deeper into the evidence and get a clearer insight of how evidence was collected over time. So let's watch a short video about how Axon Evidence works.
It all starts with this, and all this becomes evidence. And evidence can't do what it's meant to do when it's disorganized, hard to find, view, and share. Each piece of evidence begins with a single source. Shouldn't it end up in a single place? The answer is Axon Evidence. a secure, centralized digital evidence management system that accepts all types of evidence and organizes it in one place. Axon Evidence can instantly find that one piece of evidence you need to build a strong case. And it's designed with easy-to-use functionality, like dynamic review.
Cool introduction. The next part, I would love to share with you guys a little bit about the overall of Axon products and how our products work. So the first team that we are having here is the hardware team. Hardware team is the team building our products such as smart weapons. So you guys can see here our smart weapon, which is taser gun, an electric gun. And the next one is some series of cameras. So you guys can see here the body-worn camera that officers usually use to stick in front of their chest. And the next team we are having is the Axon Evidence. So Axon Evidence will make it more simple to connect and manage data such as photos, audio, video, and documents in a single and secure system. It will help officers to dive deeper into the evidence and get a clearer insight of how evidence was collected over time. So let's watch a short video about how Axon Evidence works.
It all starts with this, and all this becomes evidence. And evidence can't do what it's meant to do when it's disorganized, hard to find, view, and share. Each piece of evidence begins with a single source. Shouldn't it end up in a single place? Is Axon Evidence, a secure, centralized digital evidence management system that accepts all types of evidence and organizes it in one place. Axon Evidence can instantly find that one piece of evidence you need to build a strong case. And it's designed with easy-to-use functionality, like dynamic review and playback. It's also versatile, with built-in tools like automated redaction, performance, and sharing. Plus, transcription, evidence suggestions, and more make the whole process lightning quick. And we're just getting started. Future features will include virtual and augmented reality scene scans. We're also working on evidence timeline and mapping views, and a host of AI connections and mobile experiences for working in the field. Axon Evidence, the DEMS for the demands of modern policing.
So moving on to the next team, I would like to introduce about the real-time operations team. So with real-time operations platform, data gathered from connected sensors will immediately accessibility. So the results that real-time operations can bring to the officers are the better visibility and faster responses. So let's take a look at how real-time operations platform works.
This is new. This is true real-time operational control in public safety. This is Axon Respond. Axon Respond harnesses the power of the entire Axon network. It connects live streaming body cams, in-car cameras, and drones, light bar and weapon deployment signals, live maps with the locations of officers on foot. With all this real-time information coming in, Axon Respond gives everyone a common operating picture, providing situational awareness for dispatchers, patrol officers, and supervisors alike. Axon Respond also provides a modern communications platform that streamlines how teams collaborate. It starts with a smart user interface, designed from the ground up to be faster, more intuitive, accessible on any device, anywhere. And it's built to evolve and expand as new technologies come online. Legacy systems are a thing of the past. With Axon Respond, you'll always have the latest capabilities. Put the power of the Axon network to work for your agency. Get the complete picture and act in real time so everyone gets home safe. That's the promise of Axon Respond.
And the next team is Axon Records with Records Management System. It is also the main topic that our speakers want to bring it up for you guys today. So, and I don't want to waste your time anymore. I would like to invite JK to have an introduction about Axon Records. Please, with me, welcome JK with a bunch of reactions.
Hi guys, thanks for all the reactions. So I think this is the first time that we are introducing Axon Records. So I'd like to take a bit of time to tell you what Axon Records is all about. So Axon Records is regarded as the backbone of any police agencies, right? It streamlines the report writing process, and it provides better workflows, and it breaks down all the silos, and it goes the full end to end for all the police work, with responding, with reporting, with investigation, with prosecution, and it allows police to spend more time with the community and in the community. So I will show you a short video to learn more about records. Chloe, is that audio?
You are on mute, so we cannot hear the sound.
Axon Records integrates with all of the advanced sensors and software in the Axon network. With seamless access to Axon Evidence, we put video, photo, taser device data, and documents in one central place to make workflows faster than ever. Axon Records comes as a standard part of our OSP 7 Plus package, the most cost-effective way to make the Axon network yours. Less time filling out reports, more results from the evidence and data you gather. That's what you get with Axon Records. Find out more today at axon.com.
So sorry for the technical issues just now. Let me get from the start again.
Wouldn't it be great if police officers could spend less time filling out reports and more time in the community? That's what you get with Axon Records, our modern cloud-based records management system. Axon Records makes reporting easy. From the desk, from the field, from the patrol car. No more multi-page forms and endless tabs. We've replaced that outdated junk with one smart interface that reveals the fields you need and hides the rest. Now you enter data just once, without double entry. Compliance and validation are built in for NIBRs, so say goodbye to rework and revisions. Axon Records helps your agency break down data silos and collaborate to create efficiencies across the agency and the criminal justice system. By integrating with third-party systems like CAD, jail and bookings, and data reporting software like Tableau or Power BI, Axon Records empowers you to analyze and share data effectively. And of course, Axon Records integrates with all of the advanced sensors and software in the Axon network. With seamless access to Axon Evidence, we put video, photo, taser device data, and documents in one central place to make workflows faster than ever. Axon Records comes as a standard part of our OSP 7 Plus package, the most cost-effective way to make the Axon network yours. Less time filling out reports, more results from the evidence and data you gather. That's what you get with Axon Records. Find out more today at axon.com.
I recognize that for a lot of us, like I recognize that for a lot of us, like this is not a very familiar product, and I have to show you a screenshot of what the Axon Records actually look like. This is a typical incident report. While we get the screenshot up, maybe I can talk a little bit more about Axon Records. So you heard a few phases over in the video. So you heard about like deep integration with CAD, and you have different modules and dynamic reports. So I'm sure you have some questions about what is CAD, which is like CAD. So CAD is actually a computer-aided dispatch. So computer-aided dispatch is what happens when you call. In Vietnam, I guess, is 113. You call the police in 113, and then the operator will pick up the phone. And when the operator picks up the phone, you tell them the nature of your call, and the operator will be able to send the police, your neighborhood police, your way. So that is what computer-aided dispatch is. And for dynamic reports that we talk about in the video, so basically it outlines the crime or the incident which has taken place. Maybe it's an arrest. It will include all the call details, what the police actually did, what did they do, who did they talk to, what did they advise. So all this is very important because it provides transparency, and it also promotes accountability for the police. So Chloe, are we able to get the screenshot?
Yeah, sure. Wait for me a minute.
Okay, cool. So while we take a moment here, do we have any questions? So I see Tao ask, like, record system is cool. You must have a large and scalable storage system. Yeah, so I think Dongming answered that. Most of our data is stored in the MySQL database hosted on Azure. So are there any other questions with regards to records so far? So this is an example of an incident report that you can see on your screen. So you can see that there are really a lot of fields. It's very complex because it contains a lot of rules in which what the police officer actually needs to fill up. So this is similar to like any government forms that all of us are familiar with. When we submit forms, we need to make sure they are filled up, and they must be filled up correctly. Otherwise, they'll be rejected, and we have to repeat the process again. We have to provide the right paperwork and all that. So this is a similar nature. So these reports, they can be as long as like hundreds of fields and dozens of pages. So this is an example of an incident report. So if you look at the screenshot, you can see that there are different components to it, different sections to it. It can be like your offense, the people involved. It can be the victims or the suspect, the vehicles, evidence that is collected at the scene, as well as a narrative of what the officer actually did. So this is an example of an incident report. So RMS is the backbone of the police agencies, like I shared earlier. So without RMS, a lot of the agencies would not be able to function because there'll be too much tasks. So for all of us to bring it down to what we actually do, so like it's similar to the functionality of Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket or GitHub. So that's what RMS is like to the police agencies. So they see it as like an operating system in which they do their work, because they use it to track their work. It has an actual record, a permanent actual record of what happens, and the officers will be able to get a list of to-dos, and they're able to move the to-dos from one status to another, assigning to other officers for reviews, a little bit similar to how we engineers will actually do it in terms of building features. So having RMS actually saves the agency thousands of hours every single year. Mobile is also synonymous with police work. It's very important because officers are always on the go. So a part of the police officer's job, you can think of it as similar to that of Grab drivers. So Grab drivers, they are always on the move. They receive calls, and then they have to complete their jobs. So a part of the job of the police officers are also similar. They receive calls that we actually make to like the number 113, or they observe crime in action and they like to go and investigate. So they're always on the move, and they are seldom in the office. So mobile is really important for them because they don't go back to the office or the station to complete the work. If they have to do that, then it they will lose efficiency and they will waste time. And this means that they will have less time to spend policing in the community. So the police is really interested to have integrated workstation wherever they go. And they need to have all the systems at their fingertips. So the next thing is mobile is really, really not just a smaller form factor. Mobile is a lot more than that. So mobile is like a new paradigm. So when we talk about mobile, Grab today would not have existed without an iPhone. If it only has a desktop product, it would not have existed. Instagram definitely would not have existed without the iPhone either. Because if you don't have a way to take a photo and apply filters instantly, it just wouldn't happen. And even the mobile devices themselves are not all equal. For example, Instagram have an iPad app. So even though iPad is mobile, but Instagram does not have an iPad app, and it only has an iPhone app, right? So it determines the use case, especially with the increasing capabilities of mobile devices these days and the sensors that they have. So with this laying down the groundwork of what RMS is and why mobile is important, I'd like to introduce Andrew, who will talk more about the front-end technologies.
Okay, great. Thank you, JK. So my name is Andrew Hinton. Like JK mentioned, I am a senior software engineer at Axon. I have been with the Records team for several years now, for just over 4 years. And in that time, we've been building primarily a desktop application that runs on Chrome browsers and more specifically MDT devices, which are the devices that police officers have in their car with them. And a lot of the design considerations we've made to implement our Records desktop product have been focused on those sort of form factors. And we're at a really interesting transitionary period for the Records platform, where we are transitioning to a mobile product. We've been building this mobile product that is a better designed experience for a smaller form factor. And we are leveraging a lot of the existing technologies that we use for the desktop application to streamline that development process and get to an MVP much quicker with a much smaller team. And so I wanted to talk today about some of those technologies that we use on the desktop and how we're leveraging them in a mobile landscape. And then Raven will take over and talk more in depth about our current mobile experience using progressive web application technologies. So the first technology that we make use of is React. It's a pretty popular web-based component framework that allows you to declaratively render your state and update your state for web-based applications. Some of the benefits that we leverage are the large community library support, things like React Router that you may have experience with, Apollo client or React Apollo, which is a GraphQL client library that I'm going to cover in a little bit. And it's also used across all our Axon applications, which means we are building up a skill set and internal knowledge base of developers that know how to use React. And we can leverage that knowledge base and team sharing for collaboration across the company. The last thing I want to mention is that given the fact that React is just JavaScript, you can write very dynamic code that can render your views. We're able to leverage that to a large extent for rendering the report writer interface that JK showed earlier, where you have dozens and dozens of fields that may show up that an officer needs to fill out as they're writing their report. And they're configurable by a police agency. So if a chief of police wants to start tracking some specific metric, they can actually go in and configure their form to add that specific metric. Like, was there a dog stolen? They want to track that for the purposes of their internal reporting. React makes that very seamless through its dynamic use of JavaScript and dynamic rendering. Let's see here. Do I have access to? Okay, great. The next technology that we use very prolifically is Typescript. Typescript is a superset of JavaScript in enabling type safety across all of our software and applications. This has a few benefits in terms of collaboration and documentation through our code. By adding types to the code that we write, we can automatically add documentation that describes how our code should work, and then add compile time checks that verify and guarantee that we are writing our code correctly and concisely. Again, all of our front-end projects, all of our JavaScript projects across Axon use TypeScript, and that is a large boon in our ability to communicate effectively and automatically without a lot of overhead, communicating directly between engineers, because the types and how the application behaves is encoded in the types that we write. I mentioned earlier that Records uses GraphQL. GraphQL is a query language that allows us to declare the data we want to fetch for our view. This is very useful for the mobile use case that we're stepping into, because the requirements and prioritization of the data you fetch may change between those applications. So while your desktop view might have a lot of rich data interactions and you can afford, because you have a wired connection, to fetch a lot of data, when you're out on the field and you may have a spotty connection or a low bandwidth connection, we want to optimize those queries for mobile. So we're only fetching the data that you actually need to see for whatever use case you're performing. So GraphQL has been a big benefit for that in terms of optimizing and tuning the data we fetch over the wire to meet the needs of whatever our use case is. This has also simplified our data layer and state management. I've found that in the past, a lot of React applications will reach for a solution like Redux and normalize their state store based on the data they're fetching from their backend using a REST API. GraphQL, and more specifically React Apollo, automates a lot of that for us by providing some hooks for loading states, error states, as well as normalizing the graph of data that we're fetching automatically, reducing the need and minimizing some of the benefits you get by Redux, and encapsulating it inside of this library, React Apollo. The next technology I wanted to talk about is Storybook, which is a documentation library that is leveraged by a team in Vietnam called the Foundation team, who builds out a lot of our core components like buttons, drop-downs, drawers, that we have been leveraging on the Records desktop site, but we've been able to make use of for our MVP mobile application using PWA technologies. And Storybook has been a great benefit in being able to explore what components are available by this team in Vietnam, and give us a means to collaborate with them directly using this documentation as a common ground to ask for new features, report bugs, and generally improve the library to meet the cases, our ever-evolving use cases for our mobile application and our desktop application. And then we also have some pretty thorough continuous integration, continuous development, deployment tooling. Some of the libraries that we make use of are ESLint for ensuring consistent coding style, as well as StyleLint for our CSS styles. We have Jest and React testing library for writing concise React tests that use a descriptive API that ensures the correctness of our application, as well as the correctness of our accessibility features as well. Danger.js is a continuous integration tool that can inform us of the changes in quality of the code coming in. One example that we use Danger.js for is for tracking the bundle size of our application. And this is also another use case that will become ever more important for mobile, where if we see our bundle size and the number of kilobytes we're downloading to the user increasing, we want to be aware of that and maybe even fail the build or alert the developer that is opening a pull request that they might want to consider code splitting, or maybe finding a different library that is lighter weight that will not impact our users as much. And then I reference here again Typescript as a CI tool, as a means to check that our code is correct and that we are not calling functions with the wrong arguments, and generally ensuring the correctness of our application. CI/CD tooling is critical to ensuring the quality of our application, and it enables us to make a lot of guarantees before deploying to the customer that our application will behave as we expect it. And this is critical given the critical nature of the records platform we're developing. Like JK said, it is the backbone of a police agency, and we want to have high confidence that what we're shipping will work as the user intends it and as we intend it. And then finally, I wanted to touch on Webpack, which is our bundling tool that we use. It both bundles our code into a number of static assets that we can then serve to the customer and minifies that code. Webpack is also responsible for our CSS modules implementation, which is our primary method of declaring classes and ensuring that they don't pollute the global namespace. At a high level, CSS modules will take any class name you define in a CSS file and then append a hash to that file, to that class name, making it globally unique. So you never have colliding styles and the proliferation of clashing styles as your style sheet grows and your application grows. And finally, Webpack is also responsible for generating our service worker, which is responsible for watching for updates to the static assets folder and making those available to the user. As well as generating our progressive web application manifest file that generates the manifest of files that are available for the progressive web application and allows the user to install that to their device. But before I get too much further into PWAs and how they work, I'll hand it over to Raven and let him dive more into that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So my name is Raven. In my part, I would like to talk more about PWA. Let me take over the screen sharing. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so in my part, we would like to share to everyone how we design the technology for our MVP. So before we go into design anything, just revisit the MVP term. So in MVP, we would like to validate the customer need. We would like to test our idea. We would like to get early feedback from customer so that the main criteria for choosing technology for mobile will be based on an existing architecture, and we will based on how we can do prototyping faster as we can, and also the faster release as well. And the first thing come to our mind when we go to mobile is about, so why not responsiveness? So why not just convert the existing website to be responsive? And with this, we waste very little effort. We're just doing some meta query to make the column layouts collapse into one column in mobile or second column in tablet devices. And we also can reuse on the Axon UI components that Andrew already mentioned. That in Vietnam team, we are building a core component to reuse across the product. And we also can reuse on the business logic API layer, like Graphql and Apollo stuff. And write once, and we can run everywhere because this is web-based. We can open it in any browser. But it only had cons. It's not mobile friendly because it's supposed to be a desktop application. When it comes to responsive, it's just like we try to put all the content into one column, and we actually cannot validate any things, any user experience with this. And it's not an applied experience. Imagine so in a day, if you have Facebook app in your mobile phone, you probably don't want to open your browser, typing the facebook.com and start Facebooking. And we want to apply the same experience for the police in their daily work, where they can grab the phone, they see the Axon record on their home screen, click it, and they can use it immediately. We want to improve their productivity as well. So responsiveness is not what we want for our first MPP. So how about the native platform? Yeah, with native platform, we can provide a native experience, and we can provide 100 native performance comparing with on the platform. And it's 100% customization for the long run, as we can go deeply into camera, deeply into any hardware in a native application. But it's the MVP. Rewrite everything, building a completely new architecture will spend a lot of time and efforts. And we don't know whether the customer want a full solution like this or not. And of course, we need to spend more resource in multiple projects for Android and iOS as well. And we cannot reuse any UI components that we build across the Axon UI right now. So native platform may be late, maybe in another phase, not the MVP phase. So how about React Native? So React Native, so it's just a JavaScript. And with React Native, we can provide a native app experience. We can write once and run everywhere because it is hybrid application. It can run in Android and iOS as well. And because it's hybrid application, it has the wider access to all the native API like NFC, Bluetooth as well. And we can reuse the procedural logic and API layer as they are written in JavaScript as well. But it's still a lot of effort and time consuming as we need to set up the new project and we need to rewrite all the component layers because the components that you in React Native is kind of different with the web-based as well. And we need to rewrite all the dynamic report generator logic that we built for years because with the dynamic report, it will return the suitable component based on the schema. So, so for React Native, we probably need to do the same. And we still need to handle iOS and Android code when we come to the deployment, when we need to deliver to the customer to test our idea. So maybe later, not in our MVP phase. And then what comes in our mind is about PWA. And the main difference between PWA and the original websites is about the service worker. It sits on the middle between app and backend. And with 3 steps, app manifest, HTTPS, and service workers, we can transform any website into PWA. And it can behave exactly the native app experience. And it will be less effort and simplicity as we need to add the manifest file, hook to the service workers, and we can reuse the business layer and API layer as well. And we can reuse almost the Axon UI components. So we still need to do some improvement, but it will be minimum efforts. For example, a label in desktop, usually we will truncate it when it has a long content. But in mobile, we probably need to break it into a new line so that it can be visible for it. And we know the cons. It limits access to device hardware and customization because it's just a web. And it only supports some modern browser like Safari iOS or Android Chrome. And it had a real iOS limitation as well. Yep. And here's the thing, the PWA can suitable for MVP. And from what we investigation, but here on the left, what are the PWA can do for Android and iOS, like zero location, device orientation, and it had a full access to camera and microphone, and offline and to home screen as well. And on the right side, they are the what PWA can do in iOS, like push notification, NFC, Touch ID, Face ID as well. And it helps us to consider whether it's suitable for MVP2 or not. And currently, we are happy with what PWA can do in iOS and Android right now, because currently it meets our expectation for bringing the report writer to mobile. And for MVP, we can build really incredible products, even with the bare minimum functionality and features, because one of the core things of PWA is about time saving and less effort to build and test our idea. So we would like to demo to everyone an app that we wrote for demo today. And it will work well in both iOS and Android. And for us to understand how the PWA works in real life. So for Android and iOS, how they install, they have a little bit different. So when we navigate to the PWA, there's a banner appear. And when you press, you can install the application inside your browser. So Android is support PWA very well. For iOS, so it's a little bit tricky when we can show the guideline for the user, but they need to manually select on the step, like click the share button, go to the add to home screen, and it's become an app inside the iOS app. And for PWA as well, we would like to demo another functionality that we investigate further. It's about camera. It can access to the native camera as well. And we can do a lot of cool things like take camera, zoom in and zoom out, using flash, switch the camera to front or rear camera. And because we are using the native application and for video record as well. And it meets our expectation for the MVP, where we want to bring the mobile report writer to customer. And because it's in the app, so the next demo will be how it can be safe update whenever we try to release the version for customer. Because we have the service worker in the middle between the app and the backend, so it can always check for the latest version. And based on our strategy, we can show the customer whether they have the new version or not to upgrade it manually or do it automatically. It depends on our scenario. So basically, whenever we open the app, the service worker will check for the new version. It shows the banner here, press it, and it refreshes to the latest version. And because of the service worker, it can work offline in both iOS and Android. So in offline, we can always reopen the app, do something, and when we do something, we can have our own strategy how to store everything offline. Either we can use IndexedDB and use background sync API to sync to the server when the network is online after. It depends on our strategy, but we would like to share with everyone. Those are the core functionalities that we consider for our MVP. And currently, we are very happy with this functionalities, and it's our choice for our mobile MVP. And again, we want to emphasize PWA are absolutely not a universal replacement for native apps. It will depend on our scenario, depend on our money, depend on how our phase that we want. And in our MVP phase, we emphasize for money and time saving. We have a lot of questions when people try to register for our PWA, and we try to pick top 5 to answer for everyone. So the first question is why we do choose PWA over native application. We believe you got the answer. It's MVP. We would like to let's reinvent our architecture and try to reuse everything as soon as possible to release faster to test our idea. And PWA is work really well for our need. And does the app require any low-level hardware accessing? Yes, of course, in the future, but not now. We try, what our main goal is about, we try to bring the report writer to mobile. So before they can't do any report on their mobile, but now they can do. So that is our main goal. And do we share the same code base for desktop and mobile? Andrew, so can you answer the question first?
Which question was it?
Do we share the same code base for desktop and mobile?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to cover that. So we do share the same code base for desktop and mobile. I mentioned earlier that we use React across our desktop as well as our PWA mobile application. We're able to leverage a lot of the same business logic, utility functions, and state management solutions for GraphQL and Apollo with our mobile solution. And we leverage Lerna, which is a monorepo solution for JavaScript projects, to manage some shared packages between those experiences.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So the next question is about what is your cache strategy? So we do know there's a limitation about storage in both our Safari iOS and from Android. So in Safari right now, if your free disk is over 1 GB, the default limit is 500 MB. And in Chrome, they have a different mechanism to calculate. But here in the strategy, we always keep telling our user that your remaining storage is reached to the limit. And then they know what they need to do. For example, if they're in offline and they are writing report, we're telling them that your storage is going to limit and they need to be online to synchronize with the server, and we'll remove the cache and clean the storage as well. So how to synchronize data without conflicts? So we would like to show to everyone the video demo from Google about the background sync API. And this is what we will apply to our PWA. So basically, if we depend on our strategy, we have the background scene when the app is closed to synchronize the data when the app is closed, and it can detect whether it's offline or online. So now we go to offline mode. And then when we send in a message, we will add some timestamp or labeling it. And we put it into our background scene. So when the app is online again, the background scene, we try to push the previous message to the network, and we have on the right. And the background scene, we try to fetch the latest data from the server while we are in background. And we use a push notification to support this. And here we go. We have the latest data. So it will depend on our strategy. We have the background scene when the app is closed. We have the IndexedDB to store on the offline data. It will depend on us how we store and how we solve the conflict. For example, like adding timestamp or adding some flag. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's all for on the top 5 questions. So now we leave it to the audience to ask more questions on the chat.
Yeah, if you have any other question, please feel free to make the question in the chat box and our speaker will answer it orderly. And Yum, we already have some questions in the chat box. Could you please read it?
Yes, sure. So I believe so. Andrew, so help us to answer some of the question. So yeah, so most of the question about how we synchronize data when we apply. So we use the background sync API to handle when the app is closed, and it can check the online or offline status to send the data and synchronize the data from the server. So another question is about why PWA is a good choice for our MVP phase. Do we consider it for the official release later or other technology? Yes, so for our MVP, our main goal is about helping the police officer to write a report. So we are validating whether they need to complete their report on mobile or they only need to complete some part of the report, and they can synchronize and complete it when they return to the station and sit on their desktop to continue the report. And why we are validating it, we are not sure about the future, whether they need a full solution for the mobile application or not. Maybe not, maybe yes. So if yes, there we have the phase through to consider whether we can put a PWA into the hybrid application or not. So we have the mobile team in Axon as well. And for MVP, we would like not to retouch on the architecture. We would like to prototyping and validate the customer as soon as it's possible.
To what Raven just said, right? Actually, PWA is actually very mature. So there are a lot of other companies that is releasing production code through PWA. For example, like Zoom. Zoom actually has a PWA for their mobile application. There's a PWA for mobile application. For example, like Twitter, they also have PWA. So there is no reason why PWA cannot be more than just an MVP, but it's more of like using the right technology to fulfill the right set of goals. And if you have questions, like feel free to unmute. I think you guys can unmute yourself. So feel free to unmute and ask. So it's easier.
We can spend 2 or 3 more minutes for the Q&A session. There's a new question, right?
Raven, do you want to take the one? Nam asked, have you considered using Ionic, React, and Capacitor for further upgrade? As I known Capacitor to do support push notification and other native features for both platforms, including iOS.
Yeah, so if we be on our phase through, we do have a plan to support it in long term. Either we can wrap it with an iOS application and put the PWA inside, so we can achieve the push notification as well. So it will depend on our architecture, because it will be consistent across the Axon, not only for us. So as long as we validate the right customer need, so we will go to the next phase, and then maybe in our next meetup, we can share with everyone about what we did after the MVP.
So Anchan asked, does the app support any kind of declarative link so end user can open URL to access directly a feature or in PWA, like when someone share URL of a PWA via email or chat? So I think for deep linking, the answer is yes. So deep linking will work for PWA. It also will work for native app. Even native apps support deep linking these days. So it's not a matter of technology. To answer your question, and I think you also answered it yourself, is that yes, definitely, because if you have any kind of like email notification and you want to allow the user to switch the experience to go to the mobile experience instead of the desktop experience, then you need some form of deep linking.
Any other question, please? There's one question from Khang Nguyễn in the chat box, and I'm not sure that we answered this or not. And Raven, do we use Workbox for service worker management?
Yes, we are using Workbox as it's a recommendation from the Google developer site.
So many smart engineers in this Zoom chat. So if you're not using Workbox, what exactly are you guys using? Maybe you can comment on the chat as well. Any other alternative libraries they're using that is not Workbox?
Okay, so it seems that we don't have any other questions, right? So we will go to the next part. It's very interesting. Chloe?
Now I would like to announce some participants who have the right answers from our register form. And those who have the right answers will receive the gifts from Axon. So I would like to announce the name of 5 winners. Congratulations to Thảo Võ, Quyên Vương, Logan, Huy Lê, and Vũ Đặng. So if you saw your name on this slide, please feel free to contact our email here, mpham@axon.com for Axon special gifts. So congratulations once again. Okay, so I guess that's the end of our Tech Talk today. So we would like to send big thanks to those who joining us today, and we want to share that we truly appreciate your time spending for Axon. And I would like to mention a bit that if you're interested in what RMS team are doing, RMS team is opening many positions for software engineer, like back-end, front-end, or full-stack engineer. And we also open for all levels, from junior, mid-level to senior. So if you guys interested in RMS team, please feel free to drop your CV to recruiting@axon.com. So we would love to meet you guys again at Axon someday. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, and goodbye.